So, again, in the aftermath of everything that's been happening, where are our senses and sensibilities? Um, I see so much finger pointing across the board, and nobody's really willing to take ownership or accountability for some things that their tribe is doing. Like, war is okay when your tribe is the one who is raiding, attacking, setting fire to things, killing. But then when it happens, then it's this massive injustice. And it's all an injustice. But when do we start to have not even peaceable talks, logical talks? When do we start looking at things rationally and understanding that not everything came as a result of an election? And I say that because we saw so much terrible behavior towards each other as citizens in other aspects. It wasn't in election years. It was when one person was president. It was when another person was president. It was when yet another person was president. We've seen it. So to assign it all to one event, as crazy as it is that event has repeated itself at times, when do we have the talk? When do we have the talk that says, we got to get to the bottom of this, both sides? What is the middle ground to this? And I'm not talking about the extremists. There are people on both sides that are extreme that you aren't going to be able to talk logic to. But for those of us that are more middle, when do we have that talk? When do we say, okay, kid, not explain yourself, but can you explain the thought in that action? Not explain yourself, but can you explain the thought in that action? And help us come to a better understanding together of each other. And that way we might at least be able to, on some level, say, okay, it may not be what I agree with, but I get it. And I don't want to boil it down to something as simple as saying, like, I like plain food, you like spicy food, because the things that we choose in a political and legislative sense are much bigger because it affects everybody. If you eat, hot chilies, it's only going to be your stomach, and therefore that's a singular sort of result. But when do we start having a real talk? When do we start saying to people, I need to learn. I need to know about you. I want you to learn about me across these man-made demographic divides, whether it's by race, whether it's by gender, lifestyle, religion, political affiliation, nationality, you name it. How do we start having those talks? I've been having some talks with some people that I don't know. And when you get in some of these chats or these groups and things like that, you can tell there are people who are just spoiling for a fight. They are waiting for you to respond a certain way so then they can start to dogpile their beliefs, their confirmed biases onto you and inundate you with something that's supposed to put me on my heels. I'm not on my heels. I stand 10 toes down on what I say and what I believe. I am willing to listen to people, but when can more of us start having those talks and saying, look, I understand, but it can't be absolute. We have mental health issues in this country that are undiagnosed, untreated, and unchecked. And that's a huge part of this. If we are upset about this one area or that one area, we're missing so many other areas and the causes of them, not just the event that itself. We have to start looking at the cause and the effect. And that way we can get to the bottom of it. But if we just continue to either point fingers or punish down certain behaviors without getting to the bottom of it, or just labeling it as something that we may or may not understand, or maybe it's just we've heard it through social media so many times that we're just parroting things that are being said. When do we get to the bottom of some of these talks? I understand people can be angry about certain things, but at some point, does your anger not go down? Because if it doesn't, that's something that internally needs to be checked. Why is there so much anger? Life is still good. There's so many other things outside of the things that will set us off, that we really do need to start looking at, why am I so angry all the time? We live in a society, we live in a world where we are still abundantly rich, even when the candidate of choice is not in office. We still have so many more rights than a lot of other areas. Now, when they are taken from us, yes, is it uncomfortable? Is it unjust? Is it unconstitutional? Possibly. In a lot of areas, possibly. And in some areas, yes. But we're still doing better, and we still have voices. We still have a lot to do. So if you have been traumatized by one thing or another, the first question is, what are you doing to heal from that? Where are you getting therapy? Because social media is not it. Listening to people like me is not it. Just getting on and arguing in chats is not it. Where is your actual therapist? And what are you doing through therapy? And I don't say that to be snide, and I don't say that to be condescending. If you broke your leg, you wouldn't just try to walk it off or get on social media and tell everybody about it. You would go to get yourself physically fixed. A lot of times we have to go get mentally fixed, emotionally fixed, psychologically fixed, spiritually fixed. If you need to go to wherever, I'm not going to say a church, if you need to find a belief system, whatever it is. But a lot of times we overlook those. And it's time that we start looking inward, having that ability to say, I need to look at myself first and foremost. Then I can take this talk, these discussions, these questions, these definitions out somewhere else, and be able to then say, I got a plane coming over me. And then be able to say, I can be a healthy contributor to these conversations. But until then, we're going to have a lot of fighting, we're going to have a lot of blaming, and that's not getting anybody anywhere. Because the people that we fight and blame, they've bought into the other side. And so all you're getting is a pushback. And again, that's where these warring tribes come. I'm going to go firebomb your tents and your people, and I'm going to go firebomb yours when we get back. And where does that end up actually getting us? So when do we start to have the talk? Without starting off, well, but, or you do realize, or search this or search that, or facts and statistics have a very valid place in these conversations. But a lot of times they get overrun by emotion, and a lot of times people don't want to hear that because their emotions are so strong. But emotions and opinions are free for everybody to have. But logically, we should start to think through some of the things that we're saying, or at least are we willing to start hearing people who have something different to say than us? So I'd like to know what you guys think. I would love to hear it. Leave it in the chats. Thumbs up, thumbs down. I won't be mad at you. And I hope this finds everybody in your place, pursuit, or beginnings of total health, mind, body, and soul. Peace, love, unity, solidarity.